Hello, Broncos country, and welcome to another week of Orange Weekly After Dark. My name is Jason. I'll be with you again tonight. Feel free to start posting any comments, questions, thoughts that you have about the Broncos with the unexpected bye week. Feel free to post anything from the Jets game all the way up to next week's Patriots game. We can even talk about some AFC West stuff tonight as well. Obviously, again, with the unexpected bye week, don't have a game to discuss that happened. What should have been tonight, what was also originally scheduled for Sunday evening. So we will leave discussion up to you fans. So again, feel free to start posting comments, and we will get rolling here in a second. JR, what is up? Thank you for joining me tonight. Again, Orange Weekly After Dark, sponsored by Centennial State Insurance Agency. Right there at the bottom is all the information. Feel free and please give them a call for all of your insurance needs. So with that, we will go ahead and get rolling. Lori, welcome. Thank you for joining. And here's the question: why rescheduled? It's going to be a year of rescheduling. COVID is the reason. With the Patriots, COVID testing positives coming up all the way throughout the week. The most recent one, I believe, was Saturday. So at that point, decided to push the game into the following week to make sure everyone is as safe as possible with this game, especially with the travel to New England that the Broncos would have to do. Obviously, you want to try to limit exposures as much as you can. And so with that, there's some debate on whether the NFL is doing it the right way or not, both with punishing teams that don't have COVID, whether that's the Broncos this week, or whether that is, teams playing the Titans, how their schedules are getting all kinds of screwed up. There's also been a lot of talk about adding a week 18 to the season for some of these makeup games, and the NFL has addressed that, and they have said that they are willing to do a week 18. However, that is their last resort that they are trying to go for, with reasons being, obviously, if you start slotting games this early into week 18, then once you get further into the season and have to reschedule some more games, then it gets even more complicated compared to rescheduling now and trying to figure things out along the way. So lots of stuff going on, lots of rescheduling. As you saw, multiple Broncos games schedules got turned around, again, with Patriots now next week. I believe Dolphins are now week 11. And there was another change that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But lots of schedule changes, and I believe personally it will not be the last that we see. Hello, thank you for watching from Mexico City. It's great to see some more international support, so thank you for joining. Feel free to post any comments, questions that you want to talk about. Let's get some more. Why are we secluding our football players for the season? I know it would be bad. Why aren't we? Yeah. And that's another great point that has been discussed is, we've seen leagues like the NBA and NHL bubble their leagues. They've picked one or two kind of main hub cities. And unfortunately with football, that's just not a realistic option. Lori, like you said, not only is it bad for families, but just the logistics behind it don't work for football. The sheer number of people within one NFL organization is, far exceeds other leagues. And so to try to find one or two hub cities and then try to play, essentially be playing, if you found two hubs, then you're playing 8 games in a day, roughly, give or take. It's, and then again, just the logistics behind it, trying to find a hotel or facilities that can house all of these teams with the massive numbers they have. It's just not feasible. The other option that people have talked about is doing like a home bubble, where essentially you bubble the teams at their homes and they're only able to go from their house to their facility or the house to travel. The issue with that, though, is that's more or less what they're already doing. The risk lies in the travel at that point. It's one of those things that everyone has to keep in mind. You can play things as perfectly as you can. You can try to mitigate the risk as much as you can. You can do all of the right things and still get this virus. That's just the reality that we live in this year is you can only mitigate the risk to a certain point. If you want 0% risk of contracting this virus, it's to stay home at all times. And you're just not going to do that while trying to play an NFL season, And so at no point was the discussion within the NFL, how do we go through the season without contracting this virus? It was always going to be a matter of when. The goal is how do you manage that, right? Titans is a perfect example of how things can go wrong, right? One person contracted it. They're still investigating, but it seems like the Titans broke numerous protocols, right? From working out to an offsite facility, not properly wearing masks, everything else. And so you have a full outbreak within a team. Compared to, we're seeing a couple of one-offs. The Chiefs practice player, quarterback got it, but it didn't affect the team, right? And so that's the whole goal is it's not how do we get 0 cases, it's how do we respond when that one case does come through, where we can seclude that one case so we can continue to play. So anyways, that's kind of the medical aspect of it all. By the way, Lori, thank you from watching from North Dakota. I went to University of North Dakota for my undergrad for athletic training degree. Back when we were the Sioux, it's always going to be the Sioux for me. So, hey, sorry if you're an NDSU fan, but for me, it's go Sioux. So thanks for watching from North Dakota. Please, everyone, continue to feel free to drop your comments below as we can get more discussions, both, again, with previous game against the Jets that we played, and again, looking forward to the Patriots. Meanwhile, again, we got lots of content coming to you, even on an unexpected bye week. So for sure, down below, look, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. We got all kinds of stuff for you, social media wise, and we've got lots of content coming to you throughout the course of the week. We have podcasts that come through, pregame podcasts, postgame podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast. So feel free to look all that up and give us some great reviews. Would be appreciated. Other thing, Tuesday nights is our main show, Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. Again, that is Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. So be sure to tune in for that show. It is going on as scheduled for tomorrow. So again, tune in. We're going to have some fun. It'll be a good time as we continue to roll through the course of this season. Again, Broncos last minute rescheduled game pushed to next week against the Patriots. What that does, 2 things that jump out to me. One, obviously, it gives a better chance, almost a guaranteed chance for Cam Newton to be playing against the Broncos, which obviously that is a big difference between him and Stidham, who was now their new number 2 after replacing Hoyer for the Patriots. So the other thing, though, is for the Broncos, it helps with Drew Lock, right? Drew Lock was going into Sunday as a 50-50 possibility. Obviously, delaying the game for another week gives him a much better chance to play himself. And so this game has gone from a battle of the third-string quarterbacks of Stidham versus Ripien versus now we're back to Cam versus Lock. And so it's going to be an exciting game. I expect a very run-heavy offense from the Patriots, both utilizing Cam's mobility and the run game. So it's going to be a good challenge for our defense. Our run game hasn't been spectacular defensively over the past few years. I think it has improved this year, but it's going to be put to the test on this upcoming Sunday. Meanwhile, for our offense, it'll be great to see Locke back in there. Has not played a full game since week 1. Obviously played that first part against the Steelers before he went down with his injury. So if he is in fact able to play, I'm excited. Not to mention, we will have Philip Lindsay back. They had already ruled him in for the game before it got rescheduled. So obviously if they were ruling him active for what would have been this afternoon. Obviously, he will be active this upcoming Sunday. So it's great to see that Broncos finally trying to start getting a little healthy. We do still have a ton of injuries on IR with some season-ending injuries. However, it's nice to see some of our offense get back again. Philip Lindsay and Drew Lock are going to be big components getting back to our offense. What are the chances Noah Fant will be ready to play? Thanks for joining me tonight. It's a good question. Haven't heard much. I'm doubtful for him, though. Before this game was rescheduled, they were already basically ruling him out. They had basically ruled him out the day following the game against the Jets. And keep in mind, that was scheduled to be a long week for the Broncos, going from a Thursday game to the following Sunday. So the fact that they ruled over a week that he was likely going to be out, to me, shows that the severity of his ankle sprain was pretty significant. So I'm expecting him to miss maybe a couple weeks out of this. They have not put him on IR, indicating that they're hoping it won't take 3 weeks or longer to heal from this. However, I still think that this is going to be a bit of a push for him. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he misses this game and we get him back for the following week. So again, Broncos trying to get healthy, but we're still a ways away from that. But again, it'll be nice to get some pieces back. AJ Bouye is the other player, big name player that we're going to get back at some point this season. I have not heard any updates on him lately. Hopefully we can get some of those as the week progresses. The other thing is that Fangio has already said he's trying to give the team a few days off this week. The issue with this last minute reschedule is the fact that it took away essentially a bye week for the Broncos. Most bye weeks throughout the course of the season, when it's your bye week, the players get that full first week off. Time away from the facility, time to visit family, time to just rest. Give your body a chance to rest before returning for that second week to prepare for your game. The Broncos for this year, our bye week, again, they practice all the way through the week, including Saturday. And so realistically, they didn't get a bye week. And so Fangio, I think, is being very smart about it, we've already prepared for the Patriots. The team already knows the strategy we're going to go through, the plays we're going to use. We're going to give them a few days off now. So he said he's going to give them all of today, all of tomorrow off, and revisit it Wednesday, possibly giving them Wednesday off as well. I personally wouldn't be opposed to him giving Thursday off as well. Again, it's been a grueling season for the Broncos already, with lots of players missing time. And so I think as many off days as he's able to give the team, since we are now not going to have a bye week from here until playoffs, every day off, I think, is going to be very valuable for this team. Christy, thanks for joining us today from Mississippi. Love seeing Broncos country represented all across this country. Love to see it. Going back to the Jets game, I was not able to do Orange Weekly After Dark last Monday. And so here we are making up time. It's kind of worked out where the Broncos were finally able to get their first win of the season. And so with that, even though it was against a terrible and miserable Jets team, a win is a win. And so with that, I am finally able this year to give my year's first Mile High salute. So for me, I've got to give it to Garrett Bowles. He has been outstanding this year. At no point did I expect him to be have this big of a rebound. I was hoping for some improvement, and I would have been happy with some improvement. However, he has been rated our best offensive lineman throughout the course of the season so far, a quarter of the way through the season. He's been great. Every aspect of the game. I believe he's only allowed 3 QB rushes so far this season, when years past he has allowed, I think last year at this point in the season, he had already allowed 9 QB rushes. And so I think at this point he also only has 3 holding calls, which one of them I still totally disagree with. So in my opinion, he has 2. He's been absolutely outstanding. So again, first season's Mile High salute goes to Garrett Bowles. Feel free to drop in the comments who you think this year's first Mile High salute should go to. Again, thanks for joining me, guys. We're probably going to wrap it up pretty soon. Again, with the unexpected bye. Not a ton to talk about tonight, other than what we have already addressed. So we'll see. Another comment from William. Are there things we can learn from the Raiders in order to beat the Chiefs? Great question, actually. And I think what we are seeing already across the AFC West is exactly how to beat the Chiefs. Namely, increasing your firepower. And I think that's what the Broncos and Raiders both really made emphasis on this offseason. Was everybody has realized at this point, you can't stop Mahomes. You can only hope to contain him. And to contain him, that means you have to outscore him. And obviously, the only way you're going to do that is with a lot of points, just as the Raiders did. They were able to put up a ton of points up against the Chiefs defense. That's what the teams across the league are going to have to figure out how to do. And I think, again, that's a huge reason why it's going to be great to see Locke back in the lineup along with Lindsey to try to bolster that offense back up to be able to compete with the Chiefs. I don't think at this point there's any defensive scheme that's going to contain Mahomes more than, if you hold him under, honestly, if you hold him to under 35 points, you're doing a dang good job against Mahomes right now, the way he's playing, the type of player he is. And so the way to beat the Chiefs is to outscore the Chiefs. And so, again, I think you saw both the Raiders and the Broncos really address that this offseason between free agency pickups as well as who they drafted, who they made a point of drafting, especially those speedy receivers that both the Raiders and Broncos now have. So a few weeks out from the Chiefs, but it's going to be a very exciting game. I expect those games for a while to be very high scoring. And we saw tonight the Chargers dropped a game to the Saints in overtime. They had a couple chances to win it. They missed both an extra point and they missed a 50-yard field goal to win it at the end of regulation and weren't able to get the job done in overtime. However, Justin Herbert, their new quarterback, who has already replaced Tyrod Taylor, has been outstanding. Unfortunately for Broncos fans, for defense across the AFC West, it's going to be very hard to shut down these offenses in the AFC West for quite some time. You've got some, between the Raiders, Broncos, and Chiefs, you have very young, very talented quarterbacks. Obviously, the Raiders have a very talented offensive scheme as it is. So it's going to be, if nothing else, exciting to watch AFC West games for quite some time. However, it's going to be very high scoring, and it's going to be whatever offense is able to execute the most. I think if at any point you only put up 14, 21 points against an AFC West opponent, you're going to lose for quite some time. I expect this to be a very offensive division for at least the next 5, maybe 10 years as we move through those years with, quarterbacks age and all that. But again, I would say Locke, Herbert, and Mahomes are going to be top 3 quarterbacks in the league for quite some time. So we will see what happens. Erica, thanks for your comments. Sutton is a big part of our offense. Unfortunately, he will miss the rest of the season. Absolutely. I mean, he's our number 1 wide receiver, and seeing him go down for the year is a huge blow for our offense. I will say I've been pretty pleasantly surprised with how our receivers have stepped up so far this year. Would still like to see a little bit more out of Judy, but hey, he's a rookie. He's going to take a bit of time to really learn the full ropes of the league. But we've got a very young offensive core right now. And that's what I think is exciting is, we're only going to continue to get better as the years go on. And so that's, our entire team. We're one of the youngest teams in the NFL. So yes, it's definitely a huge blow to not have Sutton for the year. Again, he did tear his ACL, so it'll be a year-long recovery. Would expect to see him back for week 1 next season, but it doesn't help us this year. You're right. So he's a beast. He's going to be a phenomenal receiver to watch in the NFL for quite some time. Unfortunately, this just wasn't his year. He went down early with AC sprain, and then his first game back from that is when he tore his ACL. So It's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the league this year. Obviously tons of injuries across the league this year, and ACLs being one of those predominant injuries within the league, due to lack of training, lack of preseason. It was bound to happen, but doesn't make it any less painful when it happens to your top players for sure. So lots of fun stuff coming up for sure. So again, please tune in to all of our content this week. Again, we've got shows throughout the week. We got our main show tomorrow at 7 p.m. So be sure to tune into that. Again, we've got podcasts coming up, pre-game, post-game. We've got pre-game show, which is live like this, where you guys can interact and share your comments as well and interact. We've got halftime shows, and we are even trying to put together more shows that happen live during the game, where you can listen to us announce the games instead of the announcers. So be sure to tune in for more information about that coming up. Again, please continue to share our page, like our page, give us a rating, find our podcast, give us ratings, and even tell us what you want us to improve on. Anything that you want us to talk more about, any segments that you think would be fun to do. Again, we're really doing this for you guys. This is a page created by Broncos fans for Broncos fans. And, these shows are so much more fun when we get to engage with you all. We're not fans of, the typical sports shows where you just get talked at for the entire time. This is a fun show that we like to do, fun page where it's fun to talk with other Broncos fans across the country and even internationally. We've got fans all over the world right now. So please continue to tune into all of our shows. It's a fun time. We love talking to you guys. We love interacting with you. So please continue to do so. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Again, short show tonight, but I'm sure next week we will have much more to talk about as things kind of start taking shape as far as playoff picture. And once you kind of get into that second quarter within the season, you can kind of start to see patterns emerge and see where they're at. A big game for the Broncos, especially with the Chiefs losing and with the Chargers losing. I believe a win would make us 2-3, which would still keep us in third place, but only one game behind the Raiders, and only 2 games behind the Chiefs, with plenty of games left to play. So including interdivision games. So some big weeks coming up. It's going to start this week with a big true test against Cam Newton and the Patriots, as it always is, facing Bill Belichick. So be exciting. Again, continue to tune into all of our content this week as we go more into a deep dive of what that game is going to look like, especially now that, again, Cam and Locke will likely be the quarterbacks. Thanks again for joining me tonight. Feel free to post any more comments you want, and we will try to reply to them over the next day or so. Otherwise, again, tune into our other content coming at you, and we will see you then. Until then, go Broncos.